I got a VP Pilot vanishing point, an extra fine from you. I think that's what I have in here actually, yep. That I absolutely adore, so I ordered another one, just a different body color, okay? However, the second pen's nib is really scratchy in comparison to the first one. My question is this a normal variance or might this be a defect? I'm also hesitant to do anything like nib grinding, etc., as I don't want to void any of the warranty. Okay, Isabel, I totally hear where you're coming from, and I clearly have this one for myself and I've been using it, and I have to say, when you get to these extra fine nibs, really, and especially these Pilot Vanishing Point Extra Fine is one of the finest nibs that I have seen coming from basically any pen manufacturer. When you get into custom grinds and stuff like that, you can get even more of a hairline line, but as far as modern pens today that I have seen, the Vanishing Point Extra Fine is definitely one of the finest nibs that I think is available today. That said, that means that there is very little tolerance for basically something feeling smooth and feeling scratchy. When you have a big broad nib, there's a lot of give in there, and it doesn't have to be aligned very properly. There's a lot more give, and you're just not going to notice as much of a smoothness variance. When you have extra fine, there's so much less tipping material that's actually touching the paper. If there's any type of misalignment of the tines, you're going to feel it immediately, and it's really, it takes a lot of skill to be able to kind of hand tune these extra fine nibs. I know the Pilot Vanishing Point, the nib prices just went up, the pen prices just went up a little bit, so they're not as much of a steal as kind of they used to be. I feel like at the old price, the nib unit at $61 for a gold nib really was kind of a deal. Now it's not quite as much a deal. You're pushing $80 for a nib unit. Okay, it's still not terrible, but it's definitely not the bargain that it was, a month ago. But that said, the nibs are very high quality. I think they are really good, but in my experience, I have had more of the Vanishing Point Extra Fines that I've felt have kind of more of a scratchy feel to them than that have been really smooth. So I think part of it is you kind of got like a really good one the first time, and now you've gotten, I don't know exactly how scratchy your second one is, so I can't say definitively. I have to make some assumptions here. I would say the second one is probably on the line of what you should maybe more expect, or might even be a little bit beyond that and may need some adjustment. The first thing you could do would be to look at the tines. It can be hard with a nib this small, but if you have something like a loupe or any magnifying glass or anything like that, sometimes even a cell phone camera you can get in there, because it'll kind of blow up the image a little bit depending on what you've got. Kind of hold the loupe and just point it towards your eye and look at it and see if those tines are misaligned at all. You can do that looking straight at it, or if you, Richard Binder style, I kind of took his workshop, and you can flip it over like this, hold it about a 45 degree, and that shows you what he calls the writing pad, which basically is like if you're holding your pen at a 45 degree angle, your paper is here, your nib is going to touch the paper like that. So the alignment for that is really kind of what matters. So that said, if you kind of take the pen and flip it upside down like this, and you look at it in this direction, that's essentially what your paper is going to be, affected by. So you kind of look at it that way, and you can tell if it's out of whack at all. And if it's not out of whack, then it pretty much is what it is and would need to be honed in order to be fixed. Is it something you should do on your own? It's really up to you and your own personal level of comfort. Yes, technically, if you're doing any type of smoothing with micromesh or mylar paper or anything like that, not even a grind necessarily, like you mentioned in your question, but in any nib smoothing, even a grind, you can do a grind with micromesh if you really go at it for a while. Usually grinding is done with something like a diamond wheel or some type of honing stone or something like that. Really more aggressive than micromesh. But you can do some honing with a micromesh. Mylar, you're not grinding at that point, you're really just smoothing. So you can do that kind of thing. Honestly, if you got it from us or whoever you got it from, I would reach out and if you're just really not happy with the second one, I would consider maybe sending it back, getting it checked out, and seeing like, is this something that is normal or something that's not? Especially because you got such a good one, I totally understand you would want another good one, and that's something that would really be good to check out. It's hard to say over email or over a question like that how smooth, because we just don't know. It's kind of the thing you need to get checked out a little bit, but it's up to you. So in general, though, I would say that there should be a little bit of feedback expected with these extra fine nibs. I personally like the Vanishing Point Fine a little bit better because it's almost as fine of a line, but they have a lot more give, and I just like the way they feel a little more than the extra fine. I have kind of a heavy hand and I write quickly, so I'm just not a huge fan of nibs that are this extra fine, unless I really, really need that on just terrible paper that I have no control over the quality of the paper.